All right, let's get right into a story that it really just peels back the layers of what looks like a totally normal life, only to find something absolutely horrifying underneath. We're going to be talking about the case of Bandana Kalita, and it's this chilling look at deception and this idea of the mask of sanity.
So, think about it. What does a murderer actually look like? We all have this image in our heads, right? Some kind of monster, a figure lurking in the dark. But what if the monster looks, well, like your neighbor, or your friend, or even the person you live with? This case, it's going to make you rethink that whole picture.
And that's the absolute scariest part of this whole thing. The killer wasn't just hiding. No, she was out in front, actively trying to lead the investigation. Just think about that. So let's go back to August 29th, 2022. A gym trainer, a woman named Bandana Kalita, walks into a police station. And she is putting on the performance of her life. She's playing the part of the frantic, worried wife, telling the cops her husband and her mother-in-law have just vanished. And right there, you see this unbelievable split. On one hand, to everyone else, she's this grieving wife, just desperate for answers. But the reality? She was the one who planned the whole thing. A cold-blooded strategist hiding this absolutely gruesome secret. But see, Bandana didn't just commit these horrific crimes and disappear. Oh no, she went on the offense. She launched this incredibly calculated campaign to control the whole story and manipulate the very people who were trying to solve the case. I mean, her strategy was just audacious. First, she's the one who files the missing person report. Then, almost immediately, she starts complaining, protesting that the police aren't doing enough. She's putting pressure on the police commissioner himself, basically becoming the main advocate for the investigation. And by being so loud, so visible, so helpful, nobody even thought to look in her direction for months. But you know what they say, pride comes before a fall. And being this over-smart was exactly what did her in. The investigators, who were probably getting pretty annoyed with her constant pressure, finally decided to take a closer look at her, specifically her finances. And that's when they found it. A withdrawal of 5 lakh rupees from her mother-in-law's bank account that she had no business making. And just like that, the first tiny crack in that perfect mask appeared. Okay, so there's a money motive, right? But that is just scratching the surface. When you look at the timeline of the murders, that's when you see a level of cold, psychological detachment that is just deeply, deeply disturbing. So on July 26th, Bandana and her accomplices murder her mother-in-law, a woman named Shankari Day. The method was just brutal. They smothered her with a pillow. But what happened next, it's this detail that really speaks to the domestic horror of it all. They used a rolling pin, a balun, something from the kitchen to help with the dismemberment, a simple kitchen tool. And this is where the story just goes into a whole other level of psychological horror. For 22 days after murdering his mother, Bandana just went home and lived with her husband, Amar Jyoti, like nothing happened. They ate together, they slept in the same bed, all while she knew that his mother's remains were in plastic bags, scattered across another state. He was basically living with a ghost. And then on August 17th, she killed him too. And what was her cover story? Oh, it was so simple, it's chilling. She just told the neighbors that her mother-in-law had moved in with them for a bit. Just a casual, simple lie. And that lie was all she needed to keep up this appearance of total normalcy, all while she was secretly planning to kill again. Now, she didn't pull this off by herself, and when you look at who she got to help her, and more importantly, why they agreed, it just shows you how disturbingly transactional this whole plot was. So, you had her boyfriend, Dante Deka. He was pretty clearly in it for the property, the inheritance. But then there's this other guy, Arup Deka. His story is just haunting. He agreed to help murder and dismember 2 human beings for 2 lakh rupees. And why did he need the money? To pay for his own wedding. He literally used blood money to start his own family. If that doesn't show you the casual, chilling evil we're talking about, I don't know what does. So what do you think someone does after committing acts like this? You'd think they'd lay low, right? Hide. But not Bandana Kalita. No, she doubled down. She started curating this elaborate performance of a totally normal, even spiritual, life. This is it's staggering. Get this, just 2 months after she killed and butchered her husband in their own apartment, she holds a religious ceremony, a Satyanarayan Puja, right there, in the same place. She even invited her parents. She renovated the place, And if you looked at her social media, it was all travel photos and inspirational quotes. She was building this image of a woman who was bravely healing from a tragedy she created.
It's like she could rearrange her entire life, her entire persona, just as easily as you or I might move a couch, completely changing her face to hide the killer underneath.
Okay, so at this point you're thinking, case closed, right? They have a confession, they found the remains, they even have the murder weapon. This should be a slam dunk. But this is where the story takes another wild turn. And it stops being just about one person's evil and becomes a story about the entire system failing.
Even with a mountain of evidence, we're talking a 1,600-page charge sheet. All three of them, Bandana, Dante, and Arup, were released. They walked free, out on bail.
So you're probably asking, how is that even possible? Well, it comes down to a legal loophole called default bail. And it's basically what it sounds like. It's a right that an accused person gets if the police fail to file their final report, their charge sheet, within a specific legal deadline. It has nothing to do with whether they're guilty or not. It's purely a failure of procedure.
And the reason it happened here? The police just didn't get the crucial forensic report submitted to the court on time.
The reason given was a sluggish attitude. Think about that. A sluggish attitude completely kneecapped the prosecution's case and let these three walk out of jail on a technicality. And that leaves us with the truly haunting reality of where things stand today. Bandana Kalita is out on bail. She's free. And when she shows up to court, the media has described her as having this shameless smile on her face. Absolutely zero remorse. So all of this leaves us with one final and really unsettling question. You know, we live in this age of total surveillance. We've got cameras everywhere, GPS tracking, all this advanced forensics. But what do? How do you stop the killer when the biggest threat isn't some stranger breaking in? What happens when it's the person who already lives inside your house? The person who knows your every move, shares your life, and wears that perfect mask of sanity?